And tonight I'm going to show you where the Milky Way is. We don't see it, but why? And talk about that. And show you where Venus is going to be and not to be. And then it's going to be replaced by Mercury. And so a lot to cover for tonight. So you grab skymaps.com for the month of May. And then grab your favorite planisphere so you can orient yourself with the sky. And then grab your phone and pick your favorite app. So you pick like Skyview Free, Google Sky, Skywalk, Sky, and select your favorite app, and then we'll take a look at the May sky. And here we are looking at the May night sky, and we're facing towards the north. And what I try to do when you're looking at the nighttime sky here, we're looking at it from the city. You're going to see far fewer stars than you were away from the city. Well, you're going to see quite a bit more. And so I'm going to try to focus on what you'll be able to see from your own backyard. Anytime you want to study the nighttime sky, is you first of all find your compass bearing. And the first step you should take is to find the Big Dipper. And in the month of May, before midnight, the Big Dipper is high above the northern horizon. And you'll see it right here. There's the Big Dipper. This is actually an asterism, then it is constellation. And the Big Dipper itself is in the constellation called Ursa Major, which is known as the Great Bear in the Sky. And so the next step you do is you take these two stars at the bowl of the Big Dipper, draw an imaginary line and come to the first star called Polaris. This is our pole star, or the North Star. And you can see it, if you click on it, you will see that Polaris is 45 degrees. And what that essentially means that from the equator, Polaris is 45 degrees from that view. But it's also, from our point of view, it's our latitude. That you see that Polaris is 45 degrees above the northern horizon. And when you look at Polaris, Polaris is roughly about, this is 432 light years away. So now you've found north. So behind you will be south. And the sun just set in the west. So now you kind of have your compass bearing. Now from the city, sometimes you have to use landmark to be able to find your compass bearing. And so you know which way generally is north, then behind you is south, and then you have east and west. So you'll be able to find the Big Dipper and such around 10 o'clock in the evening in the month of May. So now we're taking a look at Polaris, and Polaris is in the constellation called Ursa Minor. And this is seen as the little bear. So we have Ursa Major is the great bear, Ursa Minor is the small bear. And opposite the Big Dipper, low above the northern horizon, we have these five stars. We form the letter W. And this is Cassiopeia, known as the Queen. And you find Cassiopeia, this is how you find the plane of the Milky Way. I really want to highlight the Milky Way in this May sky because what's happening in the month of May, which is always a fun story to tell, that the Milky Way is during the disappearing act. And what that essentially means is you find Cassiopeia, and then over here is Cygnus the Swan. Okay? And that star right there is called Deneb. Okay? So it's just starting to emerge into the evening sky. Now these are the two constellations that are useful to help you find the plane of the Milky Way. And I'm going to back up here a little bit. Okay? And we're facing towards the north. Okay? What's happening in the month of May is that the Milky Way, the plane, is along the horizon, 360 degrees. So people were to go out and say, where's the Milky Way? I don't see it. Well, that's because the Milky Way is along the horizon. Let me show you this. If I go forward a little bit, you can kind of see the Milky Way. There it is, right there. Okay, so we're 3 o'clock in the morning. But if we go back to 10 o'clock, this is a fun story to tell you that you can tell your friends and family that the Milky Way is along the horizon. It's called the disappearing act. Right? Does not mean it's gone, it's just along the horizon. And from the city, it's almost to the point you can't see it. But if you're out in the country, way out away from the city, this is one of the few times that you can actually go out and get a really good horizon. You can see the Milky Way, 360 degrees around you. So let's go back to the north. Okay, and there's Big Dipper again. There's Cassiopeia. There's Cygnus the Swan. And this is how you find the plane of the Milky Way. And then back up here, we see Cephas. And then we see this long Draco. Draco, right in between the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper. Okay? And so remember that Polaris is right here. It's 45 degrees above the northern horizon. Okay? So while we're in this area, I'm going to zoom in a little bit on the Big Dipper because this is a great time to look at the gems of the Big Dipper. Okay? So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Okay? And this is a spoon in the sky. From my view now, it appears to be upside down. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay? And these stars are bright enough, relatively, to be seen from the city. But I want to point out this star right here called Mizar. It's the second star in the handle. You go right about there, but what's fun to talk about and show you Mizar, I'm going to zoom in for you a little bit. As you zoom in, there actually is two stars. We have Mizar, and then right here is Alcor. Okay, so Mizar and Alcor. Now, if you notice that there's different names, these are binary star systems, but if you can get closer yet, we really zoom in. You notice that we have three sets of binaries. So Mizar is starting to separate out. So we have a binary star system. And then over here, Alcor, you zoom in a little bit. Okay, it's actually binary star system, not one star, but two. Okay? And then go over here, you see more. Okay, so from my point of view, because they're roughly in the distance of about, let me see, Mizar, here in Alcor, okay, they're roughly about magnitude of 4. But it appears as 1, but they're about 80, 85 light years away from us. And in the line of sight, they appear to be 1, maybe you could see 2. And that's all based on the distance. So Mizar and Alcor, it's a fun object to look at with binoculars. So look at the second star. It appears as 1, but there are actually 3 sets of binaries in the area of Mizar. Okay, so while we're here, if you have binoculars, right, I want to zoom in a little bit. And there is a fun object right about there. Okay, here's Alcad. It's just on the last star, just a hop over here. And this is what we call, right there, M51. M51 is an object about roughly 8 magnitude. It is visible with binoculars. If you zoom in, this is what we call a Messier object, at the caliber of 110 bright object that you could see with a backyard telescope. And this is my personal favorite because it's a beautiful spiral galaxy, but it's called a whirlpool for a reason. And as you zoom in, this is the view of a telescope. You see a beautiful spiral galaxy, then a companion right here. It's another galaxy. So what's happening here is there's a joint. And this is why it's called the whirlpool. Okay? And so the distance of M51 is roughly in the neighborhood of about 23 million light years away. So what that means is that you're looking at this galaxy as it was 23 million years ago. And the light that left the galaxy, traveling at light speed at 6 trillion miles a year, will reach your eye tonight, 23 million years later. Okay, so that's a fun thing to think about. So this is M51, and you will find it on the map. Okay, so it's not too far away from the last star of the handle of the Big Dipper. Then on the other side, okay, we have this bright object, 101. This is called a pinwheel. It's another beautiful galaxy. Okay, as I zoom in on this particular galaxy, you can see why it's called the pinwheel. And this is about roughly the same distance in the neighborhood of about roughly 21 million light years away. And it's visible with a backyard telescope, okay? And binoculars even. Okay? So I strongly encourage you to try to find these two bright spiral galaxy in what I call the gem of the Big Dipper. Okay, so let's back out and you're back to the view of the northern part of the sky. You can get all square, there we go. And let's go now to the south. Okay, and before we go to the south, I want to talk about what's visible in the west. Okay? Here we have the planet Venus. And Venus has been in our evening sky for the last few months. And at the end of April, it was at its brightest. Right? And the reason that it's at its brightest is you'll see in this orbital diagram that here's the position of the Earth and Venus relative to the Sun. And on May 1st, we see Venus is starting to come towards in between the Earth and the Sun. And then on the 15th of May, it's starting to get a little closer. And in the view in the sky, it appears to be getting lower and dimmer. Then by the end of May, it will be almost disappearing from our western horizon. And then they're going into what we call an inferior solar conjunction. And that will happen on June 3rd when Venus will be directly in between the Earth and the Sun. Then, a few weeks later, it will become a morning object. But what you'll start seeing is that the planet Mercury will start to appear. So let me show you this. If we go forward, here we are in May. See, it's getting lower and lower. And there comes Mercury. I'm going to take the ground out for a minute. And there it is. And you can see they kind of switch places. And then Mercury will become visible in our evening sky at the end of May. And it will reach its highest point around June 2nd, when it's about 17 degrees away from the sun. Right? So we'll see kind of a switch between Mercury and Venus in the end of May. So let me put you back where we were. And there's Venus, and Venus will still be plenty bright for most of May, but you'll see it getting lower and lower in view. And just above that is the star Capella. Okay? And you notice that Orion is disappeared into the western horizon. But just above that is the bright star called Capella. In Auriga, there's Churyumov. Okay? So we'll see Orion and friends starting to disappear on the western horizon. Now let's go back to the south. We're going to orient ourselves. We're going to use the Big Dipper at the guideposts. And there's the Big Dipper. From the north, it was high over above the northern horizon, so it's nearly overhead in view from the south. So we're going to use this as our guidepost to help you find these other stars and constellations of the nighttime sky. So the next constellation I want to show you, it's right below the bowl of the Big Dipper. and go straight down. And here you're going to find a bright star, Regulus, a red giant star. It's about a magnitude of 1.3. It's about 80 light years away. And this is the heart of Leo the Lion. See the backward question mark? And see the mane? And this is the heart of Leo. It's sometimes called the king star. And then if we go over here, it's another bright star. This is the nebula. It's an Arabic word, a Latin word meaning tail of an animal. Cygnus the swan has a star called Deneb, and Leo the lion has a star called the nebula. So both of them mean a tail of an animal. In this case here, it's the tail of Leo the lion. It's about a magnitude of 2 and 35 light years away. And to go closer in, you can see there's the backward question mark. There's Regulus. There's the nebula, the tail of an animal. Right? So it's easy to find Leo. Take out this, and you see the backward question mark. And if I take out the lines, okay, the best way you can find Regulus is to find the Big Dipper, go straight down, take this out here, go straight down, backward question mark, there's Regulus and the nebula. Use that as a guide, right? Then we're going to now go on down to one of the largest constellations of the nighttime sky. This is Hydra the Snake. It stretches 102 degrees apart across the sky. It's one of the largest constellations. And this is seen as the snake. It's even visible from the southern hemisphere. And there's a story from Apollo that we have Corvus and have the crater here. One of the popular story is that Corvus, the crow, was getting water. And the excuse that he was tardy because he was scared off by a snake that was blocking access to the Milky Way, which is the water. Okay, so that's one of the fun stories you can talk about when you talk about the nighttime sky. And so Hydra, the best way to find it is to find Leo. And then right over here, you see this small group of stars. And there's Cancer, the crab, just above it. These are the two zodiacal signs. And then you see it's kind of slithering. You have to connect the dots to find Hydra. And then Corvus is right above that. And then Crater is what we call water. And so that's a kind of a fun group to talk about when you look out the nighttime sky. Now we're going to go back up, and I want you to remember this next phrase. Art the eye curious, be down the spica. There's the Big Dipper. You use the handle of the Big Dipper to arc to the first bright star. Right there, this is arc curious. And then speed down to spica. And that's that star right there. So you arc the arc curious, speed down to spica. Right? Arcturus, right here, it's a bright star, one of the first stars to appear after sunset. It's about 37 light years away. What's significant about Arcturus, and then the constellation of Bootes, known as the Herdsman, have this kind of an ice cream shaped pattern. Okay? And so you connect the dots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it looks like an ice cream. This is known as the hero. What's significant about Arcturus is not only that it's bright, but it's 25 times the size of our sun. So if you were to replace our sun with Arcturus, you'd reach it out to the orbit almost to Jupiter. So you're looking at, when you see Arcturus, one of the largest stars you could see with your human eye. And then let's go down to Spica. And Spica is about a magnitude of 1, 250 light years away. And here it's in the constellation of Virgo, known as the Maiden. And Virgo is one of the zodiacal signs, just like Leo. And this is also a very large constellation. And so you have some fun objects here. There's Arcturus, be down the Spica. So there's Arcturus, and then on down the Spica. It's in view above, below the bowl of the Big Dipper. Okay? And then right down here, okay, we have Libra, the scale. And then we have the full moon. And the moon will be the flower moon in the month of May. And it will be the last of the three, what we call supermoon. And the supermoon is the term that the media use when the moon and the moon is at perigee, which is the closest distance to the Earth, and the moon is full. So May 7th, the full moon. Perigee occurs sometime near the full moon. But it's going to be, of the three, the closest distance to the Earth. So we have a nice bright full moon for May 7th, and the new moon will occur on May 22nd in the month. Okay, so back up a little bit more, and this time, back so facing toward the south, there we go. Okay, remember we have Leo, Hydra, Virgo, Booties. This time, we're going to use the handle of the Big Dipper. 1, 2, 3. Use these three stars right here and draw an imaginary line until you come to these four stars that make the keystone pattern. Okay, so I'm going to take out some lines in the art. Okay, you take second, third, and fourth, and then you make the straight line right over here. You come to the keystone pattern. And this is Hercules, seen as the hero in the sky. Okay? And so while we're there, right over here, and you take your binoculars, take these two stars right here, and I'm going to zoom in, and almost center, just a little off center, this object right here. It's known as Messier object number 13. This is the Great Hercules Cluster. It's about a magnitude of 6. So it's just on the fringe of the limit of a human eye. But if you have binoculars, you definitely want to take a look at this. You zoom in closer and closer. And this is a cluster of stars. Look like a bowl of diamonds or a bowl of popcorn. This is known as a globular cluster, a closed cluster. You're looking at in the neighborhood of 500,000 to 1,000,000 stars in this region. Okay? And these are one of many globular clusters that orbit around the center of the Milky Way. Okay? And if I back up just a little bit more till we get M13, and you'll notice here that M13 is roughly, give me a distance on here, but these are one of many clusters that orbit around the center of the Milky Way. What's important about these stars, these are the first generation of stars, and in some cases they're older than the stars of the Milky Way. But also with the location of these globular clusters, it helps us to triangulate the location of the center of our Milky Way. And so we see all these clusters near the center of the Milky Way, 30,000 light years away. These are our essential clusters to help us determine how big our Milky Way is. Okay? So back up again. It's kind of oriented again. There's Hercules. Okay? And there's the Big Dipper. Facing toward the south. Use the handle and keystone pattern stars. You're going to have a chance for the next few months be able to find Hercules. And so that covers the southern part of the sky. What I want to do now and show you what's going on in the morning. So we go forward into the morning sky just before sunrise, so about 4 o'clock. Okay? And now, again, orient yourself to the Big Dipper. Now, remember that we're facing toward the south, and here's the Big Dipper. It's leaning towards the west. Okay? Hercules is nearly overhead, and then we have Bootes and Virgo toward the west. And then if you look toward the south and southeast, there's the moon, there's Jupiter. Okay? And next to Jupiter is Saturn. Okay? And Jupiter gets about a minus 2.25, and it's at the end of May. It's getting closer to midnight than it is before sunrise. So eventually, Jupiter will become an evening object in mid-June. And then next to Jupiter is Saturn. And Saturn, it's only about 5 degrees apart. Okay, so we have the two gas giants going to be side by side. If you take a look at Jupiter up close, Jupiter is the largest planet of the solar system. In a backyard telescope, this is everybody's favorite object to look at. We have Jupiter, the gas giant. You can actually see the band, and we'll really zoom in with the telescope. And then we have Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. These are the 4 Galilean moons. Jupiter has about roughly 78 total number of moons, but these are the 4 largest ones. In fact, Ganymede is the largest moon in the solar system. Then we have Io, then Europa, the icy moon, and then Callisto. Now for Jupiter, it only takes Jupiter 10 hours to turn on its axis for a single day. So you follow Io, Europa, and Ganymede appears to be changing its position relative to Jupiter by the hour. It's always fun to look at. And if I zoom in closer, let's see if we see it. No, in the southern hemisphere, sometime you'll see the red spot facing towards the Earth, but in this case, it's facing away from the Earth, at least on May 8th, which is in the morning. And so Jupiter, and now Saturn. And Saturn is about in the neighborhood of magnitude of 1. In the telescope, you can actually see the ring. And you zoom in, you can see this is what it would look like in the telescope. You see Saturn, the second largest planet in the solar system, made of gas. You see the ring, okay? And you see the gap, and they're Titan, the largest moon in the solar system. And Saturn has the most number of moons on any planet, about 82 and counting. Okay? And like Jupiter, Saturn turns on its axis for a little more than 10 hours. And the ring is tilted about roughly 25 degrees. You can actually see the face of the ring facing towards the Earth. And so in the month of May and June, they're going to be about 5 degrees apart. And mid-June, they'll become an evening object, which means they'll come up before midnight. And going into the summer, they'll be a little bit further apart, about 6 degrees apart. But they're going to be a showstopper for the summer. And then, not too far behind, we have the planet Mars. Mars is about a 1. This is a rocky red planet, half the size of the Earth. And it will appear to be dim, it's small. It's not going to be in the evening sky until probably late August. And so Mars will eventually catch up, but you're going to hear a lot about Mars this July 17th when we send the rover called Perseverance to the planet. It's a rover, and another rover going to the planet. And Mars is the most visited planet in the solar system. In the view of the telescope, it's a red dot primarily. Hard to see the details. The best time to look at Mars for details, which is in opposition. Okay, so In the morning sky, for now, we have Mars, Saturn, and Jupiter. Venus will join, become part of the morning sky a little bit later in June. And then you can see we have Pegasus, uh, Sagittarius. These are what we call the summer constellations. So these are the objects you're going to be able to see in the May sky.